Some loves are born to bloom. Others, to defy the world. She was noble, surrounded by rules, expectations, and alliances sealed in blood. He was just a blacksmith, or so they said. But when their eyes met for the first time, even time hesitated. Because there is something more dangerous than war between kingdoms. A forbidden love that refuses to die. What if I told you that one secret choice, made under the moonlight, changed the fate of an entire kingdom? This isn't just a story of passion. It's a story of courage. Of escape. Of sacrifice. And of two souls who chose to love. Even when the world told them to forget. This is the story of Ellyn and Dorian. In the heart of the stony hills, shrouded in eternal mist, there was a kingdom called Ellyn. A place where names weighed more than hearts, and alliances were sealed with blood and crests. Ellyn, only daughter of Duke Ethelric, grew up among embroidered tapestries and tales of knights, but always with her eyes turned toward the windows, longing for something the cold corridors of the castle could never offer. She had been promised since childhood to a lord she never chose, a man who saw her more. The marriage had been arranged for political gain, like nearly everything else in Ellyn. The union with Lord Cedric would bring peace to the northern borders and secure control over the obsidian mines. But Ellyn, though born noble, carried a wild spirit. It wasn't gold or power that pulsed in her chest, it was the desire to choose, just once, her own fate. And the more she tried to suppress it, the louder the unrest inside her grew, like ivy climbing the walls. Even at banquets, amid applause and promises, there was something in her eyes that betrayed her. She knew her story wasn't meant to be written in ink and wax seals alone. There was a storm in her soul, though still silent. That is, until one ordinary dusk, when the hammering from the forge echoed through the stone. Because sometimes, it is in the fire's glow that hearts begin to forge. It happened under the pale shadow of dusk, when the castle gates closed and the servants' chatter died down. Ellyn slipped past the guards with a hood over her hair and a letter in her hand, a forged excuse to visit the village healer. But it wasn't herbs she sought. Her feet led her to the forge, drawn by the memory of firelight dancing on Dorian's skin. He stood alone, hammering in silence, unaware that fate had just entered his world again, cloaked in velvet and unrest. When he saw her, he froze, not out of fear, but recognition. Like two pages from the same story finally pressed together. She spoke first, her voice unsure but bold, asking about a broken brooch, a lie, but one that bought her time. Their conversation was brief, yet thunderous in feeling. She asked about his past. He deflected. But in their pauses, the silence said more than any tale could. A flame was lit, not in the forge, but between them. From that night forward, the visits became ritual. Secret meetings beneath willow trees, whispered hopes by candlelight, touches exchanged like confessions. Dorian knew the danger. She was nobility, he was nothing more than smoke and scars. But love doesn't ask for permission, it only asks for surrender. And every night they met, they surrendered a little more, unaware that someone else had started to notice. Fate, no matter how secretly forged, always finds a crack to peek through. A forgotten brooch, a suspicious maid, and soon, rumors spread like poison in a silver goblet. The Duke, upon hearing of his daughter's involvement with a commoner, needed no proof. For him, scandal was enough. The family's honor was at stake, and in Ellyn, honor was washed in punishment. Ellyn was locked in her chambers, under constant watch, like a flower imprisoned behind glass. Dorian, however, wasn't so fortunate. Captured under charges of conspiracy and dishonor, he was brought to the square before a silent crowd. His eyes did not plead, they searched for her among the faces. When he didn't see her, he smiled bitterly. He knew then, it wasn't the steel that hurt, but the separation born of fear and title. The punishment was harsh, but not fatal. It was the kind that leaves marks, visible on the body, invisible on the soul. That night, Ellyn didn't cry. She planned. She knew that to see him again, she would have to tear away the very fabric of her nobility. And so, within the same walls that once protected her, rebellion was born. Because when love bleeds, escape becomes a cry. And there was a path through the eastern wall, one few remembered, but she never forgot. In the dead of night, when even the crows slept and torches lost their flame, Ellyn escaped. The secret passage behind the old stained glass window, the one whispered in childhood stories, was real, waiting as if fate had left it open just for her. She wore a gray cloak, no jewels, no shield, only courage and urgency in her chest. Every step echoed louder than her thoughts, and even fear felt smaller than longing. She wasn't just running from the castle. She was running from a life written for her. Dorian was already waiting. Wounded, but standing, with eyes brighter than ever. When they saw each other, time hesitated. He didn't ask how she escaped. She didn't ask if he still loved her. Beneath twisted trees, with the moon as their silent witness, they didn't need words. She placed her forehead against his and whispered, "If we live, I will never let them separate us again." He answered only with a kiss, one that sealed a vow greater than any royal oath. They followed the path of fallen leaves, toward whatever lay beyond the world they knew. Behind them, the sleeping kingdom. Ahead, the unknown. But between them now was something stronger than title, nobility, or punishment, a promise. And in a time where love was treated as weakness, to love was the bravest act of all. The freedom they found lasted barely a breath. By dawn, the horns broke through the misty fields of Ellyn. The Duke had declared war on the southern clan, blaming them for harboring the runaway blacksmith and his rebel daughter. Their love, once secret, now ignited blood and politics. Dorian looked at Ellyn with a new weight in his eyes, not fear, but sorrow, knowing the world bows to swords, not hearts. Sheltered in an old forest cabin, the couple listened to rumors carried by the wind, soldiers mobilizing, traitors executed, alliances forged in rage. Dorian, fists clenched, knew he could no longer run. It was time to fight. But fighting meant leaving, this time, with no promise of return. Ellyn, braver than ever, didn't stop him. She only held him like someone trying to stretch time a few seconds longer. On the night before he left, they danced under soft rain, as if that moment were their last breath of peace. "If the world tries to destroy us, we'll make our love a hidden kingdom," she said. And he smiled, not with joy, but with the certainty that he'd never find home outside her arms. Thunder rolled in the distance, and with it, marched fate. The battle raged when Dorian reached the field, armed only with the sword he had forged. It wasn't for glory, nor honor. It was for her. For Ellyn, who at that moment was hidden in a merchant's cart, crossing the kingdom's edge. The plan was simple: he would fight, distract, and draw all eyes away from what he cherished most. Deep down, he knew, he wouldn't return. As fire and screams filled the sky, Dorian fought like a man with nothing to lose but everything to protect. Each strike reminded him of her laughter, her eyes, her touch, the only light that had ever found him. And when he was finally surrounded, he dropped his sword, raised his hands, and cried her name. Taken as a prisoner, accused of treason, he wore a quiet smile. He had bought her time. And time was enough. Far away, Ellyn wept in silence as the sound of surrender echoed through the forest. She knew in her soul what he had done. He had chosen love over life. And as the sun rose on a day stained by pain, she vowed their story wouldn't end there. When someone gives everything for love, love becomes eternal, even if time tries to erase it. What happened to Dorian after the surrender was never officially recorded. Some said he was executed at dawn. Others believed he was exiled to distant lands, his name forever erased. But Ellyn, in her southern refuge, never stopped waiting. Every March, she planted white daisies, flowers he never lived to see bloom. On quiet nights, she wrote letters she burned in the fireplace, hoping the wind might carry them to him. Years passed, and Ellyn changed. The Duke died with no heirs willing to inherit his cruelty. The story of Ellyn and the blacksmith who faced war for love spread through taverns and markets. It became song. Then poem. Then legend. They say that in every village, there's a stone with two letters carved into it, E and D, side by side. And when the wind blows strong, some claim you can hear an ancient whisper, "Love doesn't die." It hides where history can't reach. And so, even if time steals names, even if battles turn to dust and crowns lose their shine, what is done for love remains. There are promises even death dares not interrupt. And among the ruins and roots that withstood centuries, two hearts still dance beneath the moon, where it all began. Now I ask you, how far would you go for love? Would you dare defy an entire kingdom? Would you give up your freedom, for someone who made the world stop with a glance? Ellyn and Dorian's story isn't just about a couple. It's about choices that defy reason. About promises time couldn't erase. And about the kind of love many seek, but few are brave enough to live. If this story touched your heart, let me know in the comments. Do you believe in love that endures time, distance, even the impossible? And if you'd like to receive more stories like this, the kind that make your soul feel something, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. There's so much more to come, and you won't want to miss it.